Jean Van de Velde's 1999 British Open meltdown. Van de Velde stood on the 18th tee at Carnoustie, needing only a double bogey to win the British Open. A simple, conservative approach would have secured his first major championship. Instead, he pulled driver and proceeded to deliver golf's most spectacular collapse. His drive went wildly right into thick rough. His second shot ricocheted off a grandstand railing. His third found the water. Standing in Barry Burn with his shoes off, seriously considering playing from the hazard, Van de Velde created an image that defines golfing disaster. He eventually made triple bogey, forcing a playoff he'd lose to Paul Lawrie. The tragedy wasn't just the loss. It was how unnecessary it all was. Playing an iron off the tee, then another iron, then wedging onto the green would have guaranteed victory. Instead, Van de Velde's aggressive choices and subsequent panic turned certain triumph into eternal infamy. He's forever remembered not for leading a major, but for throwing it away in the most painful way imaginable. Greg Norman's 1996 Masters collapse. Norman entered Sunday's final round at Augusta with a 6-shot lead over Nick Faldo. 6 shots with 18 holes to play in a major championship is virtually insurmountable. Norman shot 78. Faldo shot 67. The 6-shot lead became a 5-shot loss, the largest final round collapse in major championship history. Every aspect of Norman's game abandoned him. Drives found trees, approach shots missed greens, and putts wouldn't fall. Meanwhile, Faldo played flawless golf, applying relentless pressure without making mistakes. The television images of Faldo consoling a devastated Norman after the final putt captured the cruelty of golf's mental warfare. Norman had experienced heartbreak before, losing playoffs, coming agonizingly close repeatedly, but this was different. Leading by 6 strokes, he had the major championship he'd chased his entire career within his grasp. Watching it slip away hole by agonizing hole, unable to stop the bleeding, made it golf's most painful Sunday. Norman's talent deserved multiple green jackets, but he left Augusta with nightmares instead. Rory McIlroy's 2011 Masters final round. McIlroy entered Sunday at Augusta with a 4-shot lead, playing brilliant golf through 3 rounds. The 21-year-old appeared destined to become the youngest Masters champion in decades. Then the back 9 happened, and golf witnessed a young star's complete mental breakdown. His tee shot on the 10th hole went so far left it nearly left the property, ending up between cabins. He made triple bogey. On 12, his tee shot found Rae's Creek for another disaster. He stumbled to the finish, shooting 80 and tumbling down the leaderboard. The confident young player who'd led for 3 days looked lost and overwhelmed when pressure mounted. The silver lining? McIlroy bounced back spectacularly, winning the U.S. Open 2 months later by 8 strokes. He proved that disasters don't define careers, responses do. Still, that Sunday at Augusta remains a reminder that leading majors and winning majors are entirely different challenges. The pressure of major championship Sundays has broken many talented players, and McIlroy learned that lesson brutally. Jordan Spieth's 2016 Masters quadruple bogey. Spieth was cruising toward back-to-back Masters victories, leading by 5 strokes with 9 holes remaining. Then the 12th hole, Augusta's deceptively short par 3, destroyed everything. His first ball found Rae's Creek. His third ball found Rae's Creek again. He walked off with quadruple bogey 7. His lead evaporated, his championship gone. What made it devastating was how quickly fortunes reversed. Danny Willett, 5 shots back, suddenly found himself in the lead without doing anything extraordinary. Spieth went from defending champion cruising to another title to watching someone else wear the green jacket, all because of one catastrophic hole. The 12th at Augusta has claimed many victims, but rarely has it swung a major championship so dramatically and so quickly. Spieth handled the loss with remarkable grace, but the images of him sitting helplessly as his title defense crumbled became instant classics of golfing misery. He's won majors since, but that quadruple bogey remains his defining disaster. Dustin Johnson's 2010 PGA Championship penalty. Johnson held a 1-shot lead standing in the 18th fairway at Whistling Straits, needing only par to win his first major championship. What happened next became one of golf's most controversial disasters. His drive landed in what appeared to be a sandy waste area filled with spectators. Johnson grounded his club, took his stance, and hit his approach. He didn't realize he was in a bunker. The area looked nothing like a traditional sand trap, and thousands of spectators had been standing in it. According to the rules, it was a bunker, and grounding his club meant a 2-stroke penalty. Officials informed him after he finished. His lead became a 3-shot deficit, and his major championship vanished. The cruel irony was that Johnson didn't gain any advantage by grounding his club. He simply didn't know the ruling. The penalty was technically correct but felt unjust, as the bunker bore no resemblance to any hazard on any golf course. Johnson has since won majors, but this disaster represents golf's sometimes absurd adherence to technicalities over common sense. He lost a major championship not through poor play, but through an honest mistake in an ambiguous situation. Scott Hawk's 1989 Masters missed putt. Hawk stood over a 2-foot putt on the first playoff hole that would have given him the Masters. 2 feet. Most recreational golfers make those putts. Hawk backed off, reset, and then pushed it right. Nick Faldo won on the next playoff hole, and Hawk became synonymous with choking. The cruelty of that miss defined Hawk's career. He was a solid player who won multiple tournaments, but he'll forever be remembered as the guy who missed a 2-footer to win the Masters. That's golf's brutal reality. One moment can overshadow an entire career. Hawk later said he'd been thinking about where he'd place the ball for his next shot rather than focusing on the putt at hand. His mind jumped ahead to victory before securing it. That 2-foot miss taught generations of golfers a painful lesson about staying present and never taking anything for granted, especially at Augusta. Doug Sanders' 1970 British Open 3-footer. Sanders needed only to make a 3-foot putt on the 72nd hole at St. Andrews to win the British Open. He missed. He lost the playoff the next day to Jack Nicklaus. That miss haunted him for the rest of his life. What made it worse was how it happened. Sanders bent down to move a piece of grass from his line, then rushed the putt without resetting properly. He later said he thought about that putt every day for decades. One moment of carelessness cost him a major championship and a place among golf's legends. Sanders was a colorful character known for flashy clothes and a fun-loving personality, but that missed putt became his legacy. He handled it with humor publicly, but privately the pain never fully healed. His disaster reminds us that golf's mental scars can last forever, and that majors are won and lost on the tiniest of moments. Phil Mickelson's 2006 U.S. Open final hole. Mickelson needed only par on the 72nd hole at Winged Foot to win the U.S. Open. Instead, he pulled driver, hit it into a hospitality tent, and made double bogey to lose by 1 stroke. The aggressive decision when conservative play guaranteed victory mystified everyone. This wasn't a collapse under pressure. It was a strategic blunder. Mickelson's caddy reportedly advised against driver, but Phil went with it anyway. The result was watching a major championship slip away through an unforced error, a decision that didn't need to be made. Mickelson won the U.S. Open 8 years later, but that 2006 disaster at Winged Foot remains a case study in poor course management. Sometimes playing it safe is the bold move, and sometimes aggression is simply recklessness. Mickelson learned that distinction the hardest way possible on national television, with a major championship on the line.